Hi everyone and welcome to the Go Speak Serbian channel where we make learning Serbian easy and fun. If you asked a bunch of Serbian students, especially those who don't speak any Slavic languages, what they find hardest about Serbian, they'd all probably say cases. And if you dug a little deeper and asked which case confuses them the most, I bet the dative case would come out on top. If you're struggling with the dative case too, don't worry. This video is going to change that for you. But let's start out with some examples first. Even if you've just started studying Serbian, I'm sure you've heard these expressions. Drago mi je. Hvala ti. Sviđa mi se ili ne sviđa mi se. You see the highlighted parts of these sentences? Well, that's dative. So maybe you've already been using this case without even realizing it. The dative case gets its name from the Latin word dare, which means to give. And that makes sense because one of the main ways we use the dative is to indicate who is receiving something, like when you give something to someone. For example, dajem poklon bratu. In this sentence, brat, brother, is receiving poklon, a gift, and bratu is the dative form of the noun brat. This example illustrates one of the functions of dative, to express purpose or intention. Devojčica je dala vodu žednoj mački. Devojka je kupila poklon svom dečku. Lekar je pomogao bolesnim pacijentima. You see how the highlighted words here indicate the recipient of the action. The dative case is commonly used with the verbs that describe these types of actions. Here are some more verbs that require dative. Poklanjati. For example, poklanjati poklone porodici. Slati. Slati mailove kolegama. Želeti. Želeti sreću prijateljima. Pružati, pružati pomoć beskućnicima. In all of these examples, the second word after the verb, we call it an indirect object, is in dative. Here is a little hint that can help you decide when to use the dative case. English translation of the Serbian word in dative would very often, but not always of course, require the preposition to. Slati mailove kolegama, to send emails to colleagues. Želeti sreću prijateljima, to wish luck to friends. But looking at these examples, you may also wonder why we sometimes see the ending ama, kolege, kolegama, and sometimes ima, prijatelji, prijateljima. I won't go into case endings in this video. For that, I will leave the link to the free study material you can download from our website. This downloadable file contains the chart that will help you identify all of the case endings you will hear in this video. Now, let's move on to another situation in which we use the dative case. We use it to describe directions. Taksista vozi ka ili prema glavnom gradu. Okreni se ka ili prema velikom prozoru. Konobar je uvek ljubazan prema gostima. If you see these two prepositions, ka ili prema, in a sentence, you can be 100% sure that you will need to put the words that follow them in the dative case. Okay, up to this point, we've been able to rely on some clues that tell us when to use the dative case, like the word to in the English translation or prepositions ka or prema, which are always followed by the dative. But what about those examples we shared at the beginning of the video, such as drago mi je, or sviđa mi se, or another very common one, hladno mi je. So, how do we explain the use of the dative here? In these examples, we are using the dative case to express feelings, states, likes and dislikes, or opinions. Unlike in English, Serbian doesn't use the typical subject plus verb structure for this. So instead of saying I like this, the literal translation of sviđa mi se, which means I like this, would be it appeals to me. But don't worry, I will show you some simple formulas to help you nail these expressions every time. So, to describe how you feel, use this formula. Adverb plus noun or pronoun in dative plus third person singular of the verb to be. And here are some examples. Here we see a bored person. So, he is bored in Serbian would be dosadno mu je. You see, what we did here is put the pronoun on, he, in dative, mu, to literally say it is boring to him. Or for this photo, we can also say dečaku je dosadno. If I want to say that I am bored, I would say dosadno mi je. Don't make a mistake of translating directly from English and saying dosadan sam ili dosadna sam, because that means that you are boring. Let's see some more photos and apply this same logic. Vruće mu je. Hladno joj je. Zabavno nam je. Drago mi je. Okay, so we covered one type of impersonal construction where we use adverb plus dative plus the verb to be. But what about sviđa mi se? It doesn't fit into this pattern. So this is the second formula I'm going to show you today. And it goes like this. The verb in the third person singular plus se plus dative. Sviđati se in the third person singular in present tense is sviđa se. So we can describe this photo as sviđa mu se sladoled. Marku se sviđa sladoled. Dečaku se sviđa sladoled. Here is another common example with the verb činiti se, which we use to express opinion. Čini mi se da će danas padati kiša. The verbs činiti se and sviđati se are reflexive verbs and naturally come with se. But listen to this sentence with the verb jesti. Jede mi se pljeskavica. The verb jesti, which is on, ona, jede in the third person singular, doesn't have the reflexive pronoun se attached to it in its infinitive form, like the verbs sviđati se or činiti se. But when we want to express that we feel like doing something, we can use this same formula where we add se to the verbs that do not have it. The verb in third person singular plus se plus dative. Let us see some more examples. Pije mu se pivo. Spava joj se. Ne radi joj se. Now that we mastered these formulas for impersonal constructions, we can finally cover one last situation in which we use dative, and that is to express possession. Let's start with some examples first. Lepa ti je ova majica. Gde si je kupila? Sad sam sreo Nikolu. Kako mu je dobar nov auto. Gde nam je ona knjiga o srpskim manastirima? In all of these sentences, the dative is used to express possession. This becomes clear when you see how I can transform these sentences to sound like this too. Instead of lepa ti je ova majica, I can say ova tvoja majica je lepa. Kako mu je dobar auto? Kako je dobar njegov auto. Gde nam je ona knjiga? Gde je ona naša knjiga? While the version with possessive pronouns might seem easier, using the dative case is way more common and sounds much more natural in Serbian. So, if you want to speak like a native, mastering the dative is a must. We dive deeper into the dative case in our pre-intermediate self-study course. If you're looking to learn Serbian on your own with video lessons, quizzes, interactive exercises, and worksheets, be sure to check out one of our self-study courses. I'll leave the links to those courses below the video for you to explore. And that is all for today. Show us what you've learned from today's video by writing in the comments one sentence that has the dative case in it. Vidimo se ubrzo u sljedećem videu. Ćao!